In the bedroom.
Yes.
In the bedroom. Hello. Oof. You must be joking. There we go. That's a 3-act story there.
You're listening to the Occupational Philosophers with Simon Banks and John Rice.
Hello and welcome to the Occupational Philosophers, a not-so-serious business podcast that mashes up the world of creativity, curiosity, with a healthy dose of philosophy thrown in. Each and every week I'm joined by my co-host over in the UK, John Rice. Hello, John, and what's caught your curious eye this week?
Hello, Simon. What's caught my curious eye is the fact that my son now has his first job. He's doing a paper round, which is a proper first job, and he's loving getting money and independence and spending his money frivolously on music and clothes and things like that. But he always comes back and he'll share sometimes if there's funny headlines in the newspapers he's delivering, and he sees the Eye and the Mail and the Telegraph and all of this. So, and coming up to the election, which was relatively recently, he was laughing at Starmageddon, and we started musing on what Starmageddon might look like. We settled on the idea that the UK might get populated by highly efficient managerial types who are quite boring but get stuff done. And we thought, or maybe everyone has to become a tool maker. And that's mandatory. That said, he also delivers the local papers, and nothing beats local news headlines, such as this one, which reported that a pothole was celebrating its second birthday, and there was a photo of said pothole in the road with a Colin the Caterpillar cake sat next to it, which I thought was genius and very British.
And I'm wondering if you're thinking, I've reached my creative zenith when you're writing that article, or maybe it's the opposite. You go, no, this is a cool story. So yeah.
What's caught your eye?
Well, what's caught my eye is coming up for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is sooner rather than later. I believe a hotel is wanting to hire a banter merchant. So that means they will get everyone in the hotel over breakfast and everything in the right mood for their day. So I thought, given this word doesn't necessarily translate that well like Colin the Caterpillar to an Australian audience, how do you define banter? Because in Australia we just call hanging shit on each other, but it's slightly different, isn't it? So banter's a bit more cheeky. How would you describe banter? Yeah. Banter's, well, it's kind of sort of has two meanings. One would be where it's just that sort of jollying and jibing at people in a seemingly friendly way. And so you might get it between groups of friends who are quite close, that banter is something that bonds them together. But I think there's another sense that banter is sometimes inappropriate humour that is quite divisive and a bit exclusive. So it's got a bit of a souring reputation, I would say, that banter's now not considered, it's considered something where it might other people. So yeah. So you might have something who's to officiate the banter, because they might be down there going, oh, look who's having their 8th slice of toast, porky pie. Hey, you're going to have a good day. But you walk the mile because you're certainly going to need to. So I like this thought of a
banter rep.
Someone's going a bit too much banter. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but we've got a guest episode, Simon.
Oh, we do, John. So who is the curious cat we have on this week?
Well, this is a real delight because we have a returning guest. And it's someone who embodies the ethos of this show, I would say. Someone who plays at the intersection of curiosity, creativity, and serendipity. Our last conversation was way back in 2021, when the world was still reeling from the pandemic. The Tories were still in power. Jeff Bezos was launching himself into space in a strangely shaped spacecraft, which you might remember.
I do.
I'm going to replay some highlights of his career today. He co-founded the world-famous improvisation group, the Comedy Store Players, here in the UK with Mike Myers, appearing with him in the fabulous Austin Powers movies. And who can forget, This Sort of Thing Is My Bag, Baby. and more recently with Mike Myers in the Pentaverate, sporting a lovely moustache. He's also highly accomplished in the field of management training, running workshops and conferences for private and public organisations, and using theatre improvisation techniques to inspire business people to embrace creativity, enhance their communication skills, and build their confidence. He's the published author with 7 Steps to Improve Your People Skills and the more recent In the Moment. Both great books and highly recommended. I can't tell you how lovely it is to welcome back the man both in the moment and of the moment, Neil Mullarkey.
Yay!
Hello. Thank you very much. Yes, this sort of thing is my bag, baby. Thank you so much for having me. 3 years ago, that seems like a lifetime. And what's happened in the interim? Well, you both look so much younger, actually.
I know.
Maybe you've been eating your vegetables.
And your room's looking exceptionally tidy behind you, in stark contrast to the mess behind me.
In stark contrast to the bit you can't see behind my camera.
Yeah.
I just shove it all there, just in case I have to do this.
Question about your bookshelf, and this always fascinates me. There is, if I understand this correctly, 2 types of people who with bookshelves: those who sort by colour, and those who may sort by title and or theme or different things. Yours seems to be by colour. Do you want to explain to me just the thinking behind that?
Well, first of all, I'm going to take issue with you. I think there are 3 types of people.
Okay.
Those who sort them by subject, alphabet, those who sort by colour, and those who just don't sort them at all.
Yeah. You've seen my show.
I'm in the latter case. But because of the pandemic, in 2020, I did lots of pilots on Zoom Teams to try and work out how this thing works, how to make it as fun as my workshops and improv shows can be. So did pilots, got people from learning and development to sit in and pretend to be real people. And then one of them emailed me and said, "Hey, I noticed your bookshelves behind you. Why not color code them?" So there's a website, color code your bookshelves. And I thought, that's good. So I spent about an hour and a half one Saturday in April 2020, just organising them, colour coding them. And there aren't many people who colour code, I would say. It's the smallest of the groups I mentioned. And people react to it. They love it, they hate it. But there was something to talk about. People like it because it's sort of pleasing on the eye. There are others who say, oh no, everything's out of order. Fiction, non-fiction, non-alphabetic, they're all mixed up. Ugh. But you've got something to say rather than how's the weather with you? That kind of thing. So it's a thing to talk about, really. I'm trying to cover up as many shelves with the copies of my own book, which is called In the Moment, which I've written since we met. But the thing that I have to admit, really, is that my wife was delighted that I did do this, so that it looks tidy. She likes tidy.
My wife did the same thing to our bookshelves as well. And I really like it. I think it's soothing on the eye. I really like looking at it that way. Yeah.
Yes, very zen. So, Neil, what's been catching your curious eye this past few weeks? Anything catch your?
Well, I did spend a bit of time watching some football and some cricket. And England did very well nearly in the football, and they're doing pretty well in the cricket. So that's all right. I went to Lord's, and they had a great day against the West Indies. Then just now, Trent Bridge didn't go so well. Then fourth innings, they're laughing. So is that profound enough for the Occupational Philosophers Manifesto?
Yes,
what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a wonderful summer of sport so far. Well, what have you been up to? You mentioned the book, Neil, but it's been a few years. What's been some of the highlights for you?
Well, I was in the Pentaverate, which you mentioned on Netflix, Mike Myers show that was filmed here in the UK. That came out, I think, in 2022. But mostly I do my thing. I plow my furrow. I do workshops. People email me saying, can you come and do an hour with these people? Can you come and do a day with those people? And then I got an email, which was, hey, I see you at the Comedy Store Players and I see you do all this stuff with keynotes and workshops and coaching and bringing improv and other theatre skills to people in business. Would you like to write a book? Well, all right. Okay, I did. And what was good about this is that I have been teaching these skills for 25 years. And very often afterwards, somebody says, is there a book I can follow up? And I kind of have given them a list of other people. Now I can just say, here it is. You can have it. It's all there. It's like an essay crisis that's been hanging over me for 20 plus years. I first had the idea a couple of years in, and now I've done it. So it came out 2023. It's nominated for the Business Book of the Year 24, which I'll find out in September 24, which is lovely.
Fantastic.
But I can sort of put it away now and have a lie down. And I've put everything in there, basically, that I've thought, that I've stolen from other thinkers, writers, and participants in my workshops, actually, using their stories and their insights. So it's called In the Moment. We did think a long time about, should we call it improv? And actually, they came up with, I gave them one of the ideas, and In the Moment we came up with. But I have my cake and eat it, because in improv, we create theatre in the moment. The audience gives suggestions. We act out a little scene based on that, or a song or whatever. And then in the book, I say, actually, sometimes in life, a moment can last an hour, a day, 3 months, a year, a period of, who am I? What am I doing next? What have I learned? Etc. And I go back to the fact that I studied maths and physics at high school, A-levels, and a moment, of course, is about mechanics. A moment is basically how far you are from the fulcrum and the mass. So interestingly, the moment, the force is higher the further you are away from the fulcrum. Philosophically, how interesting is that you have more power further away? Does that help us understand org charts? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of...
I zoned out at mechanics, but that's just me. Yeah.
But you understand momentum and vectors. And it's the kind of stuff that they're both from the word movement. And a vector is a little arrow that shows speed, but also direction. And you could be... A little vector shows us where we're going, as well as how fast. And you could very easily be going really fast in the wrong direction. It's much better to go in the right direction, but maybe a bit slower. And I've borrowed those kind of metaphors throughout, really. And momentum, a man of moment and stuff. We kind of have these things. But also I try and say to people, when do we need to be in the moment and when do we need to be prepared? Because I also teach presentation skills where people should be prepared. They should know their speech. They should know roughly how long it lasts. They need to, they got bullet points and don't have to say it exactly the same every time, but they should have rehearsed. They should have a strategy. They should have a plan. For a meeting, you should have a bit of an agenda. You may go off the agenda, but you should have a sense of who's there, why are they there, what are they going to be discussing. So I think there are moments you do need to be planned and prepared and structured, and then others where it's more like improv. And also, dare I say, that actually within every hour, there are a bit of both. And any leader has got to deal with, got to make a plan, got to have a budget, got to fit things in. Others, open-ended, see what happens. Let's listen to you. Those kind of things. And that's why I'm glad I'm not one, because it's really tough. Because I think every individual kind of wants a bit of one or the other. Some people, so I was talking to Google the other day about improv, and they said, it's like servant leadership. And I said, yeah, but there are sometimes people don't want that. They just want some guidance. Directive leadership, we might call it. And he said, yeah, sometimes people say to me, and this senior person at Google in the UK said, sometimes my teams say to me, just tell us what to do. And I think that's allowable. I think it's okay when there are moments when the person who's got the most experience, perhaps, and she says, this is how it's going to be. Okay, so it reduces some of the stress because there's less uncertainty. And there are times when she should be going, okay, we're not sure. Help me decide. Help me choose. You create your own thing. And the problem is when we apply the wrong type of thinking to the wrong type of moment. And that's hard. Luckily, there's a man much cleverer than me, Ronald Heifetz, and his pal, Mr. Minsky, or Dr. Minsky, perhaps, at Harvard Business School, who talk about technical challenges and adaptive challenges. Technical, structure, sorted out, rational, discuss, democracy. Then there's adaptive, never been there before. Oh, crikey, emotions involved, uncertainty, fear. Oh, but through the uncertainty can come creativity and innovation. So his thing is adaptive leadership, and he's got all sorts of other things beneath that, which is sometimes you've got to understand the politics, the system, before trying to solve a problem, or indeed it's a problem for you, but not for them. Try and solve it too readily, and you make some people happy and cheese off others. And there's lots of other management things I borrow from where sometimes it's best not to solve it. Just try a few things out. There's a man called Keith Grint who popularized the idea of wicked problems. So wicked because you can't solve it with a thing, but just maybe have partial improvised solutions. Anyway, I think you asked me one question about 4 hours ago, and I still...
Thanks for being on the show today, Neil. That was great.
Thanks so much. It's been great.
Yeah,
I'm a caterpillar cake now.
Now, question, two pieces that there caught my ear, and the notion of serendipity and the piece around momentum, because having worked in, I guess, not dissimilar space to yourself in the space of creative problem solving where things aren't linear, I often think momentum is preached to us as a very linear thing, like accelerated down. Vroom. However, it doesn't allow for all the nuances and serendipitous moments which occur whenever you're solving anything which is slightly unknown. So I guess it's how do you reconcile those sort of, and it's a hard thing to do because, again, same thing I'll say to people, sometimes you've got to slow down, sometimes you've got to speed up. Okay, and it's knowing when and if you slow down at the right time, you can speed up a lot more later. But that notion of slowing down is quite tough. So how do you talk around that, if I can bring that to a point?
I was thinking, is there a question in there? So I was getting
there.
I think I don't need a question. I just chunder on anyway. I modestly, humbly teach them improv skills, and then we do some improv games. And you realize that in any improv thing, and I don't know if many of your listeners have seen an improv show, but very often a scene starts, it's set in a hospital or a restaurant, and then it becomes less about the restaurant, more about the people. Or suddenly somebody reveals they're Superman, or they want a divorce or something. So quite often the spine doesn't emerge until a little bit of time in. So you have to trust the process. And sometimes people jump in and try and define the scene too quickly. And there's a couple of quotes here that I think are wonderful. So one of the gurus of improv who helped founding Second City, Del Close. Second City is the improv capital, I suppose, where it all started in 1959, or this particular form of improv theatre. And he said, too often people try to write the scene on their own. This is a very collaborative ensemble type of theatre. So they try and do it all on their own. And he says, don't do that. Just bring a brick, and together we'll build a cathedral. And I thought that's lovely. And then, of course, suddenly I thought, what about the architect who's drawn up the maps? But then I remember Agile was explained to me once as the architect draws the design, the builder builds, and then somebody moves in and realizes all the problems. An Agile approach to software development was actually let the person who's going to be living in the house be there, have a go, try things out, open doors, talk to the architect, and the architect's hanging around listening to the builder. That seems to me a collaborative way of looking at creativity. But also blind alleys happen a lot in creative processes, as you said. And that permission is vital. And so when people haven't solved the problem early in an improv scene, they panic. And often I say, just trust the process. The gods of improv will help you. And quite often the scene needs, and this is what we say, who, what, and where. Who are the characters? What are they doing? Where are they? What are they trying to solve? Or what are they trying to create together? Are they in love? Are they breaking up? Are they finding the treasure? Are they beating the dragon, very broadly speaking? And one of the early thinkers I came across when I was doing a session at Ashridge Business School here in England was a man called Frank J. Barrett from I think the Naval University in Monterey, California. He's a business professor, but also a jazz improviser. And he says in improvised jazz, sometimes it doesn't get there quickly. You're trying stuff out. Somebody's trying a rhythm. Somebody's trying a solo. And he says, you've got to say yes to the mess. And that's his book, Say Yes to the Mess. And that's exactly what I would say about your slowing down, speeding up. When you've got the thing that you care about, the characters are motivated by, you can speed up. But very often, if you speed too early to what the problem is, the issue, the hidden meaning, the secret, you may have choked off possibilities. And of course, only in hindsight in improv can we tell if we did it well or not. We know when the scene started, i.e. not when it began, but when what was at stake became clear. So say yes to the mess is a useful thing to me as a leader for people to say, well, actually, we haven't got the idea yet. Okay, that's all right. But as I say, with improv, sometimes people step in and try and solve it too early as something's emerging, or they wait too long. But actually, sometimes the thing that it's about may have come early, but then you forgot it and then came back. So it's kind of having the patience to live with the problem, dare I say. Keith Johnston, one of the great improv gurus who died this year, said, oh no, was it last year? Heavens. Yeah. He said too often newbie improvisers have a scene in the North Pole and they go, oh, we must go north. And it's kind of, we've got to have action and momentum and keep moving. Well, actually, no, let's sit with the problem. Let's sit with it and acknowledge it and enjoy it actually and work out what's the worst idea or what's it affecting rather than leaping to the answer. And that's really hard. So I'm glad again that I don't have a proper job to do this because often you can only tell in hindsight if you left it too late. And just allowing sometimes that possibility of going back to a thing that you left behind. It was a blind alley at the time, but actually, no, that could be the thing that unlocks this, and having that confidence to live with not knowing. That's the main thing I teach leaders, really. The confidence to say we don't know, but it's okay. By pretending to know, we may choke off some possibilities. And I talk about divergent and convergent thinking. Have you talked about that in your yes, you're nodding. So that's easy stuff for you guys. But I like it because convergent means you're heading towards the answer and there's only one answer, and that's fine. You want that, save time, get there. Divergent is actually, let's look at the question. Is it a good question or not? I always say things like convergent is we've got to get from A to B. Should we get the bus, the taxi, walk, cycle? Great. Okay, there's one answer. Let's get on with it. Time is tight. Budgets are short. Divergent means you relax. You hang on. We've got to get from A to B. Well, do we? Are we A? What is B? What about C? Frankly, why do we stay here? And what is good about A? Things like, don't think outside the box. Look at the box more carefully.
Remind me never to go
in the box.
Yes.
I was going to say, remind me never to go backpacking with you, Neil. It's years.
I say
Where are we going? We're going there. It's a train.
I say this, but as anybody, my family, my friends was telling, I'm the most directive, organized person when I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
I get frustrated with those who don't say, let's go from A to B. Okay. At some point I say, I don't care how we're going to go, but let's get started. Let's get the order done. Let's get the thing sorted. Let's get the waiter to take our order. I'm bored of talking about starters. I don't care what I have now. I just need to get it in my mouth, as it were. So I'm quite short-tempered, really, when I think it needs a structured, prepared approach. So I will happily walk with you at any point. John, I want to be there on time, on budget. On the other hand, there are times when I love walking and I don't have to rush. I can take a side street. I've got an hour to do a 10-minute walk. I can look up. A friend of mine said she started looking up in London. She spotted chimneys. She's now an expert on chimneys. Isn't that great? So one of the things I say to people is just walk to work a slightly different route now and just take in what you're spotting. That to me is it.
You've just reminded me, actually, Neil, that one of the comments or the piece that made me laugh out loud in the book, you were talking about walking as a means to solve problems. And you said, the phrase solvitur ambulando roughly translates as it is solved by walking, often attributed to St. Augustine. I wonder if any mystic ever said, it is solved by having a 3-hour meeting in a stuffy, windowless room, or only Friday afternoon of John going through 100 slides on Teams would unlock deep wisdom. So
yes. Well said, that man, because I was suddenly worrying, what's he going to say? Is he going to test my Latin? I know that many people out there are prisoners of that. You can't get anything moved without 100 slides. You have to back it up to different people. Because I get sometimes this is kind of, I've got to do an hour-long speech and I have 4 hours prep with different people who then want me to write it up. And they ask dumb questions. Can you make it about X, Y, Z? Well, think about it for a minute. I've been doing this for 25 years. Trust me, this is a process that requires a little bit of breathing. And actually, people need to experience, for example, the improv thing. Do a game that is open-ended, nothing to do with work. Because as soon as you make it about work, people start behaving differently. They want to be right. They don't want to be wrong. When they play a game, they're happy with being wrong. And what happens then is they're wrong. They're so wrong, they become right, dare I say. So you want to open things up. And then maybe after you've done the exercise, how does that apply to you? So I'm I have great sympathy for those who have a proper job. I've got teenage children and I'm thinking, what are they going to do with their lives? They can't just do what I do, can they? It's much harder now to get into comedy because there's so many people doing it, but there are many more outlets. In my day, it was kind of, you had to get on to some pub theatre and get paid £5 or whatever, then eventually do Edinburgh Festival. Maybe someone on radio saw you. Now you can have 1 million followers on TikTok if you're funny. So I'm aware that I have a wonderfully easy life, really. I can leave these meetings. I can smile. There was one person when I was talking, and this is for an hour-long session, and we'd had an hour-long meeting, had an hour-long one-on-one phone call, and I was saying how we're going to do the thing, and that's why it's going to be helpful, and I'll hold a moment of psychological safety. And after 50 minutes, she said, but it's going to be all right, isn't it? And I just laughed. I said, if you don't believe it now, then you never will. And I said to her, I'll bet you £100 afterwards you said that was marvellous. And actually, she never paid me the £100, but she did. The text was, that was brilliant. That was so relatable. You have such a great way of doing things. And I don't say that to show off, but just to say, hire somebody. If you think they're good at what they're doing, let them do what they are good at. And that's talking about people with real jobs. Too often nowadays, if we hire people, oh, right, that was what you're good at somewhere else. Now learn our way. And this does require a bit of diversity and inclusion. And I mean that in the broadest sense, is that person who doesn't know how to do the font that you always use, that person who doesn't realize you don't back chat to John Rice because he's the big boss, that person who figures you shouldn't having coffee at this time, whatever. It helped people to assimilate, but actually that outside voice, that different voice, bring them in and embrace their difference. Let them play their game. I think that's more possible now with remote working and the idea. I'm thinking now, I guess, of that person who's brilliantly technical but isn't great at endless meetings.
My question, Neil, was, do you ever think AI or ChatGPT could do a bit of improv? Have you tried it?
Well, one of the things I was thinking about when you said what's keeping you kind of interested at the moment is AI, because I brag hither and thither that the one thing AI, machine learning, robots can't do are the things that I offer. Improv is about creativity and rapport. I can do something with you. We can share a common goal. We can make each other smile. We can warm to one another. And I say that, and occasionally somebody said, well, actually, have a look what they're doing now. As yet, I haven't come across that. A friend of mine did go and see a show which was improvised with some AI input. And it was slow and it wasn't very good because mostly, as far as I know, generative AI, large language models, I think they say, are brilliant at collating what's already there.
Yeah.
And that's a really good skill. But occasionally we need something to come up with something that's not already there. I did actually go and see at the Royal Institution a brilliant talk about the ethics of AI. And Vari Aitken from the Turing Institute, whose job is to work at the ethics of artificial intelligence, said, artificial intelligence is not that intelligent, really. And she then had a date with an AI, and it was kind of really dull. So what makes you happy? What food do you like? And it was kind of by numbers. And things will get better, I'm sure.
The dating for dummies. Yeah.
It was dating for dummies, but soon it'll get better. May I just say, for example, my daughter is doing a project right now. She's at university, but she's doing a project about how generative AI could help secondary students learn physics better. Now, that's exciting to me because he talks about the Universal Declaration of Learning because we learn differently. So how do you ask a question with a graph, a diagram, words, numbers? And trying to get the sense that we could one day have personalized learning. And also teachers who may be not neurotypical, who find it stressful to have a lesson plan. Well, a lesson plan can be dreamt up by AI, generative AI. Actually, every child, every learner could have their own personalized learning. So in that sense, where you might say improvisation is making stuff up in the moment for individuals, I think there is something. In terms of my world of being on stage, quickly come up with stuff and embracing mistakes and getting it wrong, and sometimes the wrong is so much better than the right, then I don't think so far machine learning is going to beat us, because I think we still love humanity. We still want to hear it and see it from a human being. And my daughter went on a prompt engineering course, i.e. generative
new skill of
AI.
the moment. Yeah.
The skill, yeah, exactly. So I did host a conference for recruitment marketers recently. And again, is it all about LinkedIn? Is it all about algorithms? They're helpful, but they only get you so far. And one of the speakers said she asked ChatGPT to come up with her wedding vows, but she said it took her 4 hours to get them right. So she had to sort of teach AI and learn herself. How do I put it in? And a lot of people I say is a kind of think of it almost like a child, or, have to make it really clear. The prompt. I'm sure it'll become better, but thus far, it's not helpful for certain things, for the serendipitous, left field, lateral thinking that we might want from creativity. But actually, there's so much it could help us with. Those proposals, those collating ideas, even kind of do some research for me. Okay, that saves me time. My son, some of his chums have been caught out doing essays via ChatGPT. But at some point, we have to recognize that why shouldn't you have the first draft of a speech or a proposal with ChatGPT? Because it means it's reasonably good to start with. Put something of yourself in there, put your stories, put your spin on it. So I think it's like an abacus, a calculator. At some point, we'll realize it's a thing to have, but it's not everything. I don't know, because nowadays people at universities have open book exams, which seems to be a bit more like real life, and you have to complete it within 24 hours or something like that. That's a bit more like real life. Most real life situations, you're not stuck in a room for a finite time on your own. Most of them, you can chat to somebody, you can go for a walk, you can collaborate, you can check what somebody else did last time, you can interact with others who might be able to help. And of course, that's where the improv comes in, which is how do I ask for help? How do I motivate others and inspire others to help me and to ask others for help? Those are all improv stuff, and ChatGPT can't help us with the why, if you like, the Simon Sinek. So I'm not worried that they're going to eat my lunch on stage. I'm delighted that, for example, a friend of mine write a proposal, an outline for a Neil Mullarkey workshop. It was pretty good. And then he was clever at prompting. He said, now make it more edgy. It was great. It was one of those things where, okay, that's done a lot of the work. I haven't used it, but it inspired me to think of some good taglines to have here and there to tidy up my LinkedIn. So I'm not sure that AI is going to take improv away, but I think it's going to be a useful tool that we shouldn't underestimate or be scared of.
So, Neil, I've reread your latest book, In the Moment. I found it a really good read. I found it very well researched. I thought it was thought-provoking. There was loads of practical ideas that one could take from that were easily implemented. And it was funny. My question to you is, why are you so damn talented? But more seriously, what was the catalyst for the book? You touched on it a little earlier, but what was the experience of writing the book?
Well, people said to me, how long did it take you to write this book? And I said, 25 years. But putting it on paper, about 6 months. So the catalyst was, I'm asked a lot about how can improv, which is frivolous and funny and throwaway, help people who are managing budgets of millions of pounds and being serious. They think, it's presentation skills. Well, I don't not do presentation skills, but it's actually the philosophical approach to life, which is we cannot control certain things. So let us live more easily with uncertainty. So the book was kind of the thing that's been hanging over me for a while, and now I can put it to bed. And that's, I can say, this is it. This is my manifesto. Yes, things will change. I haven't really addressed AI too much, but other than to say, I think curiosity, serendipity, rapport, creativity is still uniquely human things. So the book was an answer really to myself, which is, can you write all this down? And the three things that you've actually mentioned there, I'm so chuffed you said, which I wanted to make it rigorous, because many of these self-helpy businessy books are, this is what you must do. Yada, yada. I made a business and this is why you must do everything I did. And I wanted to look at the neuroscience. I wanted to look at the psychology. I wanted to look at market research, anything where I can say, well, the thing I think, or the thing I've noticed, or the thing I've learned from the work I'm doing is X. And then I often try and have a bit of a Socratic dialogue with myself for saying, what about the opposite? So I'm literally saying improv is good, but actually preparation is good. Depends on the moment. I want to make it funny. It's not a joke book. It's not funny throughout. But I do have little moments where I try and finish off a thought with, as you said, kind of, so what? You know, St. Augustine didn't talk about a Teams meeting. So research, but also totally applicable. A little toolbox, which is, here's an ABC. Here's the thing. Try this out and make, in a way, the research says this. These are papers, Harvard Business Review, yada, yada. But what's it mean on a Friday afternoon for you when you're your widget factory? So that was basically it, trying to sort of put to bed all the thoughts I've had. So I have an improv chapter, which is basically the basic skills of improv, a little bit about how I got into this world of management, training, leadership development, communication skills, then creativity, collaboration, leadership. And the toughest one, I did write one about meetings, because I realized all of this stuff really takes place in meetings, online, in person, where we have bad behavior, good behavior, collaborative, non-collaborative, creative, leadership. And that was the hardest one to write, because that was when my editor said, no, you haven't quite got this. I had to really think hard about that, which is, what is a meeting? And he actually also said, you're helping us to collaborate, but how are you helping a leader who wants their team to collaborate? That's a big question, isn't it? Because I can collaborate, you can collaborate, but how do I make them collaborate? How do I create the environment? I found there was some good research on that as well. So the book really is kind of my manifesto, but also my kind of, I can leave it now. For years, I've got a box here still of clippings I've taken for the last 25 years from newspapers. And the digital equivalent, where I'd send myself a clipping from Twitter or LinkedIn where somebody wrote an article. And I thought, that's good. I'll put that in my bank. And that the book is full of those moments where I thought, oh, that's helpful. I know there's a thing about creativity where they've given something that shows I was right or wrong, or a different view, which makes the book feel rigorous. So the book was kind of almost, I better write it now. And it was so wonderful to have actually this publisher, Kogan Page, who got a very good reputation across the world in business stuff. And I did say mine won't be sort of like, they do textbooks by academic professors. And they said, no, we do those as well, sort of more self-helpy, more sort of the ones you find in W.H. Smith at the airport, rather than just in the university shelves.
And have you made it to the airport
I noticed
yet?
Yes. Occasionally,
nice.
Friends will send me a little picture of Amsterdam,
Perfect.
Schiphol Airport, Heathrow Airport, Paddington Station, bookshops around the country. Oh, yeah, that was it. Because Waterstones is a big chain here in the UK. I made it to the table where our staff recommend.
Ah, nice.
Waterstones, Piccadilly, Central London. It was there. So my editor had been sent it by one of their colleagues. And so that's the kind of thing. I'm not going to be Lee Child or what's his name, Jack Patterson or J.K. Rowling. I know that, or some of the more sort of popular business people. But what I love is occasionally I'll have people say, I've read your book and I've never met them. Or somebody I've worked with once and say, and somebody said, it's like spending time with Neil in real life. And I thought, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to create, which is a little bit chatty, a little bit not taking yourself too seriously, but actually with some hard evidence and some clear practical tools. Because I think people possibly think, oh, improv is okay for stage, but what's it got to do with real life? And I'm saying, look, this is some real life advice garnered from my experience, or people tell me stuff.
And I think my sort of take from it, Neil, is, and you've done that really well. You mentioned earlier that ultimately the heart of it is dealing with uncertainty. There's something about that at the heart of the book, which is living in a world which is very uncertain, and we're not going to go into VUCA or anything like that, but then having the skills and confidence to be able to react to that, to be open to possibilities, to pay attention, stay attuned. So I think in that regard, absolutely job done. And I love the fact that you do mention, to your point about the clippings, and I was curious about that because I do a similar thing, but my filing system's awful. How do you sort of actually, did you just sit for a few weeks and go through all of your stuff?
Yeah. And my hands were covered in newspaper print. I've still got, by the way, I'll show you this, could be amusing. It's not
another box, is it?
Of ones that I didn't use.
Oh my gosh.
This is to make sure this doesn't get taken away by the children. And it's a complete mess.
Oh my gosh.
It's things I've clipped, magazines, yada, yada. And what I do is I spend a day going through it and then kind of backing into the topics.
Yeah.
So one was creativity, one was leadership, and they're sort of like the chapters I kind of mixed and matched sometimes. But there was one which is a bit of both, and that's completely superseded now. But there are times. So the book, I do have everything I mention. I've got a link to. So it's quite hard when I'm finding one of the British papers from 2001, 1998, whatever, which aren't online. So eventually I had to Google and eventually I did find it, or sometimes I just had to say, trust me, this is the date it was on. So it was also interesting because my editor, obviously, and like most people in the world, much younger than me, so he said, this is evidence from 1999. Have you got anything more up to date? And I'm thinking, 1999? That's yesterday.
What's the newspaper?
So it's in a newspaper. That's what I find. So that was interesting as well. And by the way, just a small thing, I hope your readers or listeners might be interested in this, is I thought that was a brilliant phrase where I often teach people in the tech world about selling, because the idea now is they may not have salespeople, but they actually want people who's going to do the job. So they've got to talk to the client and say, this is what we do, and tell them stories and simplify it and get them excited and inspired. And I thought a brilliant phrase. Nowadays, it's less about, it's maybe more soft soap than software. And I thought that was a good thing, because soft soaping is kind of selling, isn't it? And my editor said, what are you talking about? He didn't know the phrase at all. And I thought, is this something I got from Dickens or something? So soft soaping is kind of sort of schmoozing a bit, I suppose. I'm not sure but it was one of the things I had to cut out, because I thought, is it me? And so I asked around. It was just me, actually. But it was just interesting to have what I thought was a very obvious phrase becoming no longer in common parlance, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it's something I experience quite a bit, is the pop cultural references that I have in a session completely over the heads of anyone sat there. And then you realise, as you say, I put my top hat on and walk out again.
Well, yeah, because when I was growing up in the 70s, I'm probably older than anybody ever on this thing. There was a lot of the time in the 70s, there were strikes by ancillary workers. Now, is ancillary ever used now, other than, I suppose, technical things? But my son's doing Latin, so I keep saying, when he does vocab, ancilla, the word ancillary. So ancilla, I think, is a female slave, something. It's ancillary. And
so the slaves were writing, were they, back in the 70s or something?
Well, something like ancillary.
Inside, everyone, the slaves.
Yeah. Well, ancillary workers were not the front line, if you like, and they probably were paid less because they were subsidiary, something, they were helping the tool maker, whatever. And so it was kind of a thing that I knew about, ancillary, but no longer in common parlance.
Here's another word. You don't hear that often anymore. Have you ever heard someone say flan? Like, I've just cooked up a nice flan.
Oh, no, people say quiche now.
Exactly. Yeah. You say flan to anyone under, I'm not sure. But
yeah.
I heard it floating around kitchens when I was younger. So we didn't even know. But you say, I've just cooked a flan. Everyone look, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm going to try and drop in the word flan. Can you have a sort of dessert flan?
I'm not sure. But if you can film yourself dropping that into a workshop and send it to us, we'll get you back for another show.
Oh, because the word flan is also almost onomatopoeic, because I remember we occasionally had a quiche Lorraine, and it felt incredibly pretentious to say that, because I grew up in France. So the first of my first 6 years, half have been in France. So to put it in context. So quiche I knew a word, but now you'd never say flan, would you?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to leave the room, wouldn't
you? Be gone with your fan. Now, jumping back into your book, Neil, the heart of your book weaves your laser model into the themes of collaboration, leadership, and creativity. Can you elaborate on laser? And we want to also see how long John can go without doing this air quotes when we say laser, because that's his little thing. You see
It's
what
his
we
little thing.
did there. Yeah.
That's my
Egos.
Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There you go. Laser. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Right. Well, it started as lager. So-
Okay.
When I was teaching people improv who wanted to be improv performers, so at the Actors Centre and other workshops like that. So I thought, how can I make this into a kind of easy acronym? So listen to what the other person's saying. So we treat what they say as an offer. So they say, I'm a doctor, they're a doctor. Accept, okay, you are a doctor. Then send one back. Well, why there's a doctor here? What kind of doctor are you? What, are you in a hospital? Are you a GP? So actually, I made it give to make it lager. So you listen to the offer, accept the offer, and give one to build up the other person's idea. And so this is a yes and, i.e., which some people might have heard of that notion of yes and, as opposed to yes but, which is more I'm taking it in a direction which wasn't to your offer. So listen, accept, give, and then explore assumptions. The assumption, well, why is this doctor seeing me today? What kind of doctor? Maybe I'm a doctor as well, but I'm more senior. Or maybe we've had an affair. Or maybe he killed my mother or something. Or maybe he saved my father's life. So explore assumptions. And the R is very often in improv, we recycle. We bring back a thing from before. So many improv scenes are seemingly chaotic, but if you bring back a thing from before, it creates a bit of narrative structure. It can be amusing. And so in American sitcoms, they call it a callback. A callback, which is that thing Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm have it all the time. A phrase, a word, an object, a person comes back when you least expect it. And it's a smile. It's a kind of, oh, that was nice. They've put that thing into a new environment. And
Is that kind of like a comedic Chekhov's gun?
Well, I'm not going to say no, but I've got a feeling. I think I've seen The Seagull, and somebody at one point shoots themselves, don't they?
Yeah, and it's the idea that the Chekhov's gun thing in drama is the thing that's seen, the lingering shot on the vase on the table, and then suddenly in the denouement, you see him smashing over the head with the vase.
Yes, that's right. So you plant it. Yeah, so it's like Chekhov's gun. Because you hear about it, and then some point it kind of is the nemesis. Yes. So it's like that. But it happens all the time. And when I help people with presentations, I say, oh, that beginning bit, why not mention it again when you pictured a consumer, or we talked about a story as you're on the way to work? And then wouldn't it be great if that's in your final moment, your final image? It just creates some sort of narrative thread. And in my book, I talk about this, the Zeigarnik effect, which is we tend to love a cliffhanger because we want to know what happens. And so if we pay it off, we close a loop, to use several of the phrases people use, it's highly satisfying. So that became lager. Listen to offers, accept the offer, give an offer, building on the other person's idea, explore assumptions, your assumptions and their assumptions and your assumptions about their assumptions, and then recycle. And then actually the improv word, which I was talking to a chief executive once. He said, use the real improv word. Recycle is a common parlance, but reincorporate is the actual word. So you reincorporate a previous offer. And even better, when talking to somebody, pitching something, reincorporate their idea into your pitch, into your summary, into your conversation. Because it says, I'm not just listening to you now. I listened to what you said before in the meeting earlier last year. And people love it. They say, oh, you've got such a good memory. And I just know I've planted it in my head that if we talk, they said they come back from skiing. 10 minutes later, if I say, here we are on the nursery slope or whatever. Oh, that's nice. Little frisson of connection. Now, ChatGPT will probably do that. But so lager. So it was lager. And then for years, I used to give out a handout. And then Steve Chapman, who I mentioned in my book, who is used to be an org specialist, now as an artist, Steve XOH, Steve Chapman, he was, what was his book called? Something about scorpions. Anyway, he said, put it on a beer mat. And of course, what a brilliant idea. So I put it on a beer mat, lager, because lager is a type of beer. And then in lockdown, I couldn't give...
Thanks for that. What?
Well, I just check in because not everybody in, shall we say, Anglophone nations.
No, true. Yeah, you wouldn't.
They went to lageris. In fact, I think actually it's a German word meaning storage. and possibly Scandinavia as well. I think I found myself taking a picture of a door near a toilet once, which had lager on it in Oslo.
Arrest that man.
But anyway, nobody arrested me. So it was lager. Then I couldn't give out the beer mats because people say, oh, that's nice. And what's beautiful about the beer mat, the coaster, is that 10 years later, people say, I've had it on my desk for 10 years. It's in my handbag. I refer to it every day because I need to explore assumptions. I need to know, just because I think it doesn't mean they think it. Oh, quite nice to reincorporate, send back an offer, creates a bit of connection, and sometimes could be a creative breakthrough when you bring back something from before. Lockdown, can't give out my coaster. Also, realizing not everyone loves alcohol, not everyone's comfortable with alcohol. So I made it laser. And so it became listen, accept, send an offer back, explore assumptions, reincorporate. And also, I know this may, it might be, Simon will be terrified by this, but when you do physics A-level and beyond, you talk about the wave particle duality of light. So light, Simon, can sometimes be a little particle, little photons, and sometimes it can be a wave. And here's the thing, philosophers, it is one or the other, and sometimes both, Schrodinger's cat, but it depends on how you look at it.
All right.
This makes no sense. The very act of looking at it might change it. And you've got two little things going through the young slits, two little things, and they start interfering, but they were photons when they went in, but they come out as a wave. So I say, and this is where I'm on thin ice, I realize, I say laser is a light thing that's based on trying to send out a straight line of photons, if you like. But light can be both a particle and a wave. And human beings can be both individuals and part of a team. And at their best, we're both. And that's the thing. That kind of summarizes my approach to life, is that we all want to be seen as individuals, but we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We want to be valued as an individual, but also appreciated for our collective effort.
You used to hand out little coasters. What do you give now to remind people of the lasers? Do you have like a little laser thing and they can pew, pew.
Lightsaber.
Lightsaber. Darth Vader mask.
What would be good was to get those little pointy red things that you can, but I haven't gone that far. I still use the beer mat.
Okay.
Because
with a cross between the G and an S underneath.
Well, no, in fact, one of my clients, they said, because of the nature of the audience, he said, use laser rather than lager. But I said, oops, we haven't changed the slide. So I said, can you change it? Because I'm not technical. So we ended up with laser, but it was S for sieve, S-I-V-E. It had been give. And it should be send. We've forgotten to change it. I'm just going to get one to show you. I still use it. There you go. So
Laziv.
Where is it gone? There we go. Got loads of these. And amusingly, the other day, the printer said, we've printed a whole bunch of these by mistake. Do you want them? I said, all right. And I was hoping they'd say you can have them for free, but no. So I said, just wait, because my wife is saying, can you just in the spare room not have so much of your stuff? Because I also give out Neil Mullarkey pens and stuff. So I give that in person. Sometimes I decide just to have it as a slide that I send to people, because online I couldn't give those out. So I used laser, and also I could do my little thing about light
and you could just get a Sharpie and write it out, cross it out. It's like when you've got you've got those failed Olympic bid T-shirts, and if your city wins the bid, you're going to be a millionaire. If you don't, you've got like a bunch of, Shanghai.
Well,
1992.
Euro 2020 was held in 2021.
Yes,
of course. It's still called Euro 2020.
Everyone who printed the football's coming home T-shirts are now looking at that big pile, wondering what the hell do we do with these? So, yeah.
Well,
just saying.
I think I think people realise it's still coming home. It has come home with the women's team, by the way.
It has. Now,
I was.
Oh, sorry. No, go, John. Go on. I've got another story. Another time.
I like the fact that Neil brought us back to physics and the duality principle there, and I was and how that the state can be affected by observation. And I wondered if you thought about quantum facilitation, Neil, which is whereby you just leave them all in a room, say, I'm leaving because if I observe you, I'm going to change the outcome. And then just go down the pub. Well,
I'll be honest with you. Somebody did do that once. I used to work at, I won't say which business school, and it was about strategy and leadership. And so I did Monday afternoon, and the people who ran it said on Wednesday, it's a Monday to Friday gig. Wednesday, we're going to arrive and just tell them, this is your day. You've had 2 days of us talking about uncertainty and in the moment leadership and social adaptive systems. You're going to run the day.
Ah.
And they said, interestingly, because the whole week was quite self-reflective, they said a huge number of people at the end of this leadership course decided to leave the job they were in. That was how profound it was. What was interesting, though, that's this particular guy who did say that occasionally there'll be somebody who would get all upset. And so he said, all right, over breakfast on Thursday, I'll give you the top 10 tips for strategy kind of thing. But it was one of those things where they were kind of heterodox in their view. And at one point, this particular person wrote a big article in Management Today saying why all MBAs were rubbish, even though his business school made a lot of their income from MBAs. So he's no longer there. But actually writes about whistleblowers now. There you go. So yes, I do often acknowledge, because I often walk around the room when people are doing the exercise, and me just me going there, I say, I changed it, didn't I? And the people go, oh no, because I was thinking I better get it right in front of you. And I'm saying to leaders, that's what happens. You just need to be in the room or not in the room.
Yeah.
And again, Ashridge, one of my favorite business schools, they had a thing during lockdown about what is leadership in remote times, in hybrid moments? And they said it became more about checking in rather than checking up. How can you have open conversations which aren't just, how many hours are you working? What are you doing? Because one of the metrics of work early in lockdown was how much time are they spending online? How many emails are they sending? Is that a useful metric for work?
Well, it gets to the heart of a very philosophical question of what is productivity. But I might pivot off that because there's a quote in your book, and I really like it. There's so much to explore. Curiosity is the yin of serendipity's yang. How do these two ideas come together in your mind, and how might they play out in organizations?
Serendipity is one of the chapter titles. And I was attending an offsite leadership course by one of the world's top management consultants. It's quite a technical one. And this guy, who was the head of the UK Ireland bit, said, as his advice to the young management consultant, the new leader, serendipity. And you're thinking, hey, you're all about science, aren't you? And spreadsheets. And his serendipity is, and he said, I want to increase my share of the lucky market. So what he said was his consultancy would probably get quite a lot of work just from who they are. They'd miss out some, but there'd be somewhere, if they had the right connections, the right relationships, they would get the work. And serendipity to me is improv. A lot of people think, if I say, do you ever improvise? They kind of go, it's a thing that they do when things haven't been properly planned or things don't go to plan, i.e. you're picking up the pieces of bad. I'm saying it may be that, but it's also picking up the good, spotting the opportunity and curiosity. Without curiosity, you won't find the unexpected opportunity. You won't spot where there are connections. And it's fascinating to me that when you ask senior leaders or those who are great at training, one of my chums was at PA Consulting, head of learning there. And I said, for my book about people skills, I said, what do you need? He said two things really, curiosity and confidence. Curiosity, be interested in other people and things. Confidence that you have something to say and are of interest to those who are curious. And I thought it was great. Curiosity is, I don't know. Curiosity means I may have to learn. Curiosity may mean my self-esteem may take a temporary blow when I say, oh, I wasn't aware of that. That's not something I can do or spot it. Curiosity is related in some ways to Brené Brown's vulnerability, which is, I'm not perfect. And actually, I think most of us don't think we're perfect. We think we're not perfect. We don't want to be found out. And the best leaders are going, I want to find out. I want to be found out. Tell me what I don't know. So serendipity is the attention that gives you an opportunity. It isn't just que sera, lucky. It comes with attention and understanding that unless you're paying attention, you're alert, even to the downside, even to the surprising, you may not thrive. And that's not unscientific, I would say.
And John and I often tell the tale of the sad butcher, which there was a show in the UK, and there was this butcher, and it's stuck in my mind, and he thought he was unlucky, but his whole life was, I'm so unlucky, nothing good happens to me. So they set up in a town somewhere in the UK, they set up all these great things that could happen, like leaving, £300 somewhere, or someone coming in and offering a sort of a role in a movie, or like into the butcher shop. But because he looked at the world in this very closed way, he missed all these opportunities. And so at the end of the show, we're saying, look, well, serendipity, you have to lean into it. And so you create the moments where things can happen, which ties into your, being curious and paying attention to things as well. And John loves that
Well,
story.
I think that's that story. I think I might have heard via Richard Wiseman, who's a professor at the University of Hertfordshire, who talk about time and sleep. And he they did some research, was the people who thought they were unlucky were actually right.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, and vice versa. Sort of, and this is what in my book I said, luck and fate. Luck is different. Serendipity is about is spotting things that are possible. Fate is something that happens to a person. Luck is similar to fate, but both can be good or bad. Serendipity is about positive. It's what happens to you. Serendipity, the faculty of or phenomenon of finding valuable or agreeable things not sought for. And that's interesting, because if you are curious or not necessarily seeking specific, today you could be learning about how a child learns to spell. Tomorrow you could be learning about how flowers are grown. The next day you could be just asking one of your team how they feel, and how what you saw they didn't see, or what they saw you'd failed to see. So that's what curiosity to me is. It means taking a bit more time, I think, to look at the world, and looking up at chimneys, taking a slow walk.
So, Neil, we love getting people to be curious, think a little differently. We have what we call thought experiments, which you would have experienced before. Philosophers use those to expand people's thinking and explore profound ideas and stuff. But as you know, it's nothing of the sort on this podcast. So we have our latest thought experiment for you. Given your recent book, In the Moment, this one is called In the What? Essentially, you're going to hear a series of noises created by items, or which might be found in a typical house, or potentially phrases that might be well known that are prefixed by the words in the. So you have to guess by saying in the, and then say what you think that noise, where that noise would be heard, or what that phrase is. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it does. 'Cause all I can think now is in the toilet.
That's the first one. Well done.
You're on the right lines there, Neil.
But wrong.
So we're going to
take that one off the list, John. That one. That wasn't a very nice sound, anyway. Really wasn't.
So let's start with this one.
Okay.
Right. You don't put the cutlery facing downwards.
In the
dishwasher. In the dishwasher.
In the dishwasher. I'll take in the dishwasher. That's very good. I was going to say in the kitchen as a room, but in the dishwasher.
Okay.
That's a point.
Okay.
That's a
well
first
done.
point.
Well
Yeah,
done.
very good.
Well done.
Here's the next one. Why, hello.
In the
bedroom.
correct.
Yes.
Well,
All right.
I'm quite overcome by that one. That was beautifully done, John. Thank you.
Everyone's blushing.
It's my new microphone. It's very mellifluous.
Yes.
All right, the next one. All right. That's better.
In the shower.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It's suddenly, I suddenly realised I should be making funny, because, of course, if I said in the bedroom just after John said, "Oh, hello," then we got a bit of a story going on there.
I am going to accept
Oh, hello.
that.
Okay. So,
You're dating a
or if I said in the dishwasher. Why are you having a shower in the dishwasher? Ooh, ooh, ooh.
All right, next
This
one.
is much more profound than I thought.
It is.
Make sure where you're putting the cutlery.
We may look simple folk, but deep down there's a very deep philosophical bent. Okay, this one. Oh no, there's no money left.
I was going to say in the bank, in the safe, in the purse, but in the money place.
Are you going to give a clue, John? I'm going to give it.
It's a colour. They used to mark the accounts with this colour if there was no money left.
In the red.
Yes, well,
yes,
you're very good at this.
I was thinking. I thought you're still in the house.
Well, philosophy.
It's just any
what
phrase.
Is a house?
Any phrase.
What is a house? What is a house?
All right. Okay. So right. Into something.
All right, John.
I'm going to take you back to more of a classic. I think this one works now, Neil. So let's give it a go. Did you hear that one?
It sounded like tennis. It could be whiplash. It could be somebody, because I really
in an accident.
I just thought now, because I was thinking this all going to be in the house, and when you went, oh hello,
well, this is in an out.
This is connected.
I think you're in the mood
of the house.
I think you were in the mood. Yes. Whereas now I go plot. What's this? It sounds like the sort of tennis thing. So I'm thinking in the port.
They could all be in the bedroom, couldn't they?
Let's just say that they're all in the bedroom. But it sounded like there's somebody chatting, and it sounded like a tennis ball, but maybe it wasn't a tennis ball.
It was a bicycle pump. I was in the garage.
Ah, okay. Sorry,
That's all right. Now
I'm forgetting, because sometimes in the house, sometimes it's more sort of intangible.
We mixed it up.
They're deep philosophical questions, Neil. So let's go to our next one.
Yeah.
And lo, the universe did expand from an indefinitely small and infinitely dense state.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay. Right, after 7, I've got it right now.
Now, a couple more. We got our last one, then we got a listener's question. So, you must be joking.
Taking the mickey.
Refer to your earlier answer.
In the mood. In the bedroom.
Yeah.
In the bedroom. Hello. Oof. You must be joking. There we go. That's a 3-act story there.
Now, we normally do this as a separate section. We often reach out to our listenership and we say, look, I've got the guest coming on, got the great Neil Mullarkey. Now, we have readers' questions come in. Now, this one's from Anonymous. Normally, they give where they are and who they are. But it says, okay, recently at work, a colleague said to me, you stimulate my mitochondria. In the moment, I wasn't sure what to say. Please advise.
Well, it sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? But mitochondria are very small
energy blocks of your cells. Yeah. In
your cell. Yeah, I would say, thank you very much. Good to hear. Should we tell HR? You could say, oh, that's one of my KPIs. Good to hear about your mitochondria.
All right.
How about that?
I like it. So listening.
Or you might say, how about I might have known about your mitochondria.
And that's Neil.
I want to round this out. So they're saying you stimulate my mitochondria. Your reply would be, I might have known about your mitochondria.
Something like that. Can I have all the answers I've given so far? Because it sounds a little bit like John and hello in the bedroom, doesn't it? Because what you might want to say is, tell me more. That would be my answer.
Okay, all right. So if you're listening at home, tell me more is the next way to handle next time someone says you stimulate my mitochondria. And John, that brings us to the end of the thought experiment.
In the what?
Now, this is what we call a rapid fire round, Neil, something that a lot of philosophers struggle with when we give them this. We'll see how you work within these parameters of time and space. One thing you can do without in your life right at the moment.
My lager coaster telling us all about improv. Neil's rules of improv. Make friends and interest people.
Available on the website.
Available Neil, if you come to my workshop. Not in any other way.
Okay.
Only in person.
Physically handed over. You might recall that we are continually building the Occupational Philosophers Manifesto. I recall last time you said be open to serendipity. So wondered what you would add to that, if anything.
I'd say that. Be open to serendipity. Keep curious. Especially, you never know what other people are thinking or feeling. Can you live with that? Also, try and use the word flan wherever possible. Because in French,
I'm going to put that.
There's a French word, flaneur. A flaneur is somebody who just wanders around not doing very much. But sometimes you want to flaneur. It's kind of just look at the windows in the shops, not buy anything, not have any particular task. Flaneur. So that's why I'm liking flan.
Mm.
Right,
I
you
think
asked
we
a
get
question.
that on the tree.
What should I be reading right now? Apart from In the Moment. Well, I am a huge fan of Michael Connelly. Connelly, Connelly. So he wrote the Bosch series. So during lockdown, Bosch was on Amazon Prime, and there are about 5 series, this LA detective. And then he's written lots of other books, so many books that I could keep reading for the rest of my life. And I'm hoping to. Just great detective stories set in Los Angeles. So Bosch is one of the detectives. He has the Lincoln lawyer as well, and Renee Ballard, a female detective. So not high art, but actually really well written.
Excellent. Last question, Neil, which is probably one most of our listeners are keenest to hear your answer, is what's your favourite cheese?
My favourite cheese is... I've forgotten the name of it. Oh, yeah. My favourite cheese is Gambazola, which is sort of like Gorgonzola, but got a bit of blue in it.
Maybe Portuguese, is it, or something?
No, I think it's Italian. Cambazola. Okay. Cambazola? I think so. It's kind of a mix of Camembert Brie and Gorgonzola. So it's a bit salty, a bit blue veiny, but also a bit creamy. I also would recommend people read David Baddiel's book, My Family, the memoir. I interviewed him recently, and it's hilarious. It's shocking. It's redemptive. It's reflective. He talks about family. He talks about friendship. He talks about siblings, how his parenting style has been affected by his parents' unusual way of parenting him and his brothers.
I've got a question. Did he not write Football's Coming Home with Frank Skinner? Was that?
He did, with Frank Skinner and Ian Broody of the Lightning Seeds.
All right. How's that for a little bit of our local knowledge? So they must be doing well, because once they have won it, people will stop singing it. Thus the royalties will stop coming in.
Know.
Really,
I think
marketing genius. Yeah.
Well, it's been going for decades now, since 96.
Yeah, 30 years.
You know, it's never going to go away, frankly. It's kind of the national anthem for England football fans.
Pretty much. What are you up to next, Neil?
Next, I'm going to go to the gym. And tomorrow I'm working with some technical folk, helping them with some improv and storytelling. But basically, I carry on doing what I'm doing, which is looking at how improv and other theatre skills can help people, finding out new things as to how to apply improv, and thinking about all the exciting people. For example, I was working with an ad agency the other day, and I said, "Oh, you know this person?" And he said, "Yeah, they're my dad." I'm thinking, oh, right, they were at one of my workshops 24 years ago. So, hey-ho, what goes around comes around.
Great bloke.
Yeah.
Great bloke as well. So, look, where can we find you, connect with you, buy your virtual drinks? Where's the best socials, comedy store, website? What are we looking at?
All of the above. You can find me at my website, neilmullarkey.com. My username on Twitter X is Neil Mullarkey. On Instagram, it's Neil Mullarkey. I'm on LinkedIn. The Comedy Store Players perform in London, doing improv every Sunday. ComedyStorePlayers.com. # Comedy Store Players. LinkedIn, I think, is probably the best for my work. Comedy Store Players, I do Instagram and Twitter. because that's more.
Well, John's not on any of them. I'm trying to educate him of this thing. He goes, I heard about this thing called Facebook once. And I said, oh, John, come on. Anyway.
Well, Facebook is history, but Facebook is certain.
My point exactly. So, all right. So, Neil, I think it's been great. It's been lovely. Thank you for coming on and joining us and hanging out and being part of our thought experiments. As I said, what's in the box, the one we did last time, is often referenced by people who really enjoyed the show. So I hope In the What resonated just as well. And as John and I always say, one, I'm really amazed at the talent and just the sheer get up and get things done of the people we have on the show, and just your ability to sort of transcend that space between the corporate and the arts and creativity. What a lovely melting pot. So look, get Neil into your workplace, get him in front of your teams. He is a very funny and also intelligent guy. Do it.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you can cut around my waffle.
Yeah.
It's all been fantastic. Thanks so much for coming back as well, Neil. We thought we'd scared you off last time, so I'm pleased that you decided to enter the fray again.
See you in 3 years when I might have worked out what's happening in your bedroom. Oh, hello. Ding dong.
John, pretty interesting chat with Neil. Love having him as a return guest. Okay,
a
great storyteller! Always got such a big smile as well. Couple of things you might have taken out of today, just to sort of wrap us up?
Well, there was a lot in there. I'm going to settle on the fact that I think at the heart of Neil's work with bringing improv skills into organizations, it's allowing them to deal with uncertainty. And we talked about it before, and he mentioned that research around technical challenges, adaptive challenges. So I really like the fact that that's true. We need to have the confidence and we need the skills, and improv can provide some of that mindset of being able to sit in uncertainty and ambiguity, confident that you can make your way through stuff, make your way through problems, whether they're wicked or tame or whatever they are. So that was the first thing. That at the heart of it's uncertainty, and then the serendipity curiosity relationship as well. Clearly, curiosity, without it, you won't find those opportunities, those serendipitous moments. So curiosity again is one of the things that it opens up possibilities if you pay attention and stay attuned. So yeah. Some great takeaways there for me. And you?
I went with, there's a quote from the chap you mentioned who does the improvised jazz, say yes to the mess. And I think it's a really nice understanding that adaptive challenges are messy. And if you want to solve it, maybe with that technical mindset, let's, paraphrasing what Neil said, it has to be a new way of working. So I think great innovators, great problem solvers are very comfortable, and great artists, great designers saying yes to the mess. And he also said, sit with the problem. On a sort of build on that, someone who recently on a workshop, which was a much longer engagement, said, look, you just got to love the problem. So whatever it is, just love it. Don't be, just sit in it and then love it. And that's part of you getting to where you need to be. So so much stuff to try and narrow down, but I so many nice pieces that sits across all of the episodes we've done before as well. All right, John, this is.
I mean,
us.
I would say that the other takeaways is that this is a great book. So I genuinely got absorbed by it again and took so much from it. As I say, really well researched. He has definitely got a wealth of material that he's drawn from, as we saw from the box in his room.
Yeah.
With all the clippings in it.
It wasn't a box, it was like a big plastic container you might keep your blankets in. It was huge.
I think he's probably got a storage unit somewhere, I reckon.
And the book is called...
goes back to 1984.
Book is called In the Moment.
We'll put it in the show notes, clearly. So, along with all the other references for Neil.
Okay.
So that's it. So great, really enjoyable. What do we want people to do? We want people to rate us, to leave a review. Please leave a review. They're fantastic to see those, and they do have people then sort of come and find out a bit more about what we're all about. So please do that.
Algorithms,
tell your friends,
man.
etc.
Algorithms. Yeah.
Algorithms. It's all in the algorithms, man. Check out the website, occupationalphilosophers.com. Get in touch if you've got any themes that you would like us to explore, or guests perhaps that you'd like us to try and get on the show. We'll do our very best. But in the meantime, Simon, what do we
Stay curious, make stuff, have fun, play more. But when you leave the house today, go out there and
date life.